You're listening to the Midlife Plot Twist, and this is episode 3. Hi, welcome to episode 3. I am thrilled to be at the third episode. In the first episode, I think I mentioned that I'll be releasing these weekly, but I thought for the first week, I'd release a few just because my episodes are short. And I wanted there to be more than just one for folks to listen to. After this week, though, I will be releasing them once every Monday and get into a regular schedule with them. I also wanted to mention that I have started a Substack for this podcast. I decided to do it because, well, my first love is writing. I'm not actually used to using my voice this way, but I'm enjoying it so far. But still, my first love is writing, and I decided that for each episode, I'll release like companion writing based off of the episode on that. So if you prefer to read than to listen to podcasts, you can always hop over to Substack. The account is under Midlife Plot Twist Podcast. And I'd love to have you subscribe over there. But also keep listening to this podcast. So in this week, I want to talk about grief. Even though I'm leaving a career I no longer want to be in, I still have to take time to grieve. And this week I'm really feeling it. That grief has shifted a bit though since I first started feeling it or realizing that I was feeling it. When I first started grieving, it led me to think that I was making a mistake and that I would regret my decision to leave academia. It would put up all kinds of what ifs and fill me with only the best memories of my moments as a professor rather than the full picture. But now I've gotten to a place where I realize that it's something that it's just something that I have to allow myself to feel in order to be able to let it go fully and in a healthy way. One thing that I'm grieving is all the hope that I had when I first started my position. I was so positive and energized. I went around and introduced myself to all my colleagues, despite feeling really shy and nervous. I genuinely wanted to get to know them all. I remember so clearly the day that I picked up the keys to my new office. I made my way to the room and I teared up when I saw my name on the plaque outside the door. Once inside this beautiful office on the 12th floor of my building, I pictured all the empty shelves lined with my favorite books. I pictured my degrees hanging on the wall and how I would decorate it with different things that were meaningful to me. I pictured how I'd meet with students and have these really interesting, thoughtful conversations with them and meet with my colleagues sometimes. I'd write my journal articles and prepare my courses. I I I just was so excited. And it actually makes me tear up a bit to remember this. The other thing that I'm grieving is the loss of identity. When you study to become a professor, you take on this identity of a professor, kind of whether you like it or not. I always felt uncomfortable with it, to be honest. I am the first person in my family to go to university. And I don't remember if I mentioned it in previous episodes or not, but I've experienced everything from unemployment and poverty to just making ends meet, especially as a single mom. I was still carrying these identities with me when I first became a professor. So there was quite a culture shock when I I entered this profession. Suddenly, with my new role, my identity shifted abruptly from being a starving student and a single mother. When people would ask what I do for a living, their demeanor would change. And I'd receive comments like, "Whoa, a professor." Or they'd make fake bowing motions at me, like in the movie Wayne's World, where they bow and say, "We're not worthy." That's another old movie reference. I guess I'm going to do these old movie references for a while. Um, or they'd ask me jokingly if I would pay for their meal if we were out for dinner because I was now Miss Moneybags. First of all, that devalued actually the the work that I put into getting that position and everything. And it just made me so uncomfortable. And I would spend time downplaying my accomplishments, making myself small and being self-deprecating in order to make these other people or to try to get these other people to be or feel more comfortable around me. All that said, over time, I started to take pride in the fact that I had worked so hard and achieved what I set out to do. I felt proud that I was a professor, not because it wowed some people, but because it was a symbol to myself of what I am capable of and that I am smart. I'm tearing up again, and I I mean, I guess it makes sense. I'm recording an episode on grief. Okay, as I picture my life, without that career, a big void remains. Who or what will I be? I'll still be Jen, but a Jen that needs to be reinvented. Will I be Jen the entrepreneur, Jen the coach, the therapist, the author? I guess we'll see what I land on, but for now, I'm in grief. I think the grief is about me detaching from something to which I was attached and that I valued. But today I value something different. I value my mental and physical health. I value time and presence with my family. I value slower living, intentional and mindful living. I value being of meaningful service to others in ways that use my talents and skills to their maximum. And I value rest. As I move through the grief, I have my sights set on redefining and rediscovering who I am beyond what I do, which means peeling back the identity layers that I've built around things like productivity and achievement. I think I'll likely journal about it to do this. I haven't yet talked much about, or at all, about how much I love journaling. It has been a constant companion of mine since I was a small child. I might even make an episode on it. So, yes, I'll journal. I'll share with you the prompts that I'm going to give myself. So, let's see, I'll do a who am I without my job journaling practice. For things like this, I'll usually set a timer where I give myself like 15 minutes or something just to free write, where anything and everything that comes to my mind I put down on paper without censoring or filtering out what I'm thinking. And on one side of the paper, maybe I'll write all the roles that I play that kind of like identity roles. For instance, my roles are mother, educator, researcher, coach, friend, partner, etc. On the other side of the paper, I'll list qualities and values and desires that make me who I am. So I'll probably write things like curious, intuitive, compassionate, and creative as examples. Then below that, I'll write, I'll answer the question, if I couldn't perform any of these roles, what parts of me would still remain? So who is Jen at the end of the day? I'm going to pause the recording and do this now, actually. I'll share it with you when I'm done. Okay. I wrote, let's see. I wrote, if I could no longer perform any of my roles. Oof, that's a tough one. Actually, I've been challenged over the past 2 years in terms of what I can and can't do anymore. Being unable to perform my role of educator, researcher, graduate student supervisor, colleague, a good housekeeper, an active friend, the loss of these things has tested me for sure. It's been difficult, and at times I felt lost and questioned my self-worth. With patience and over time, though, I've come to appreciate that without those roles that I can't perform right now, I'm still an intuitive person, a creative person, and those two things led me to take on the new role of podcaster. That's all I wrote. You know, I was just thinking that I I didn't really I didn't really answer the question now that I'm reading that back to myself. I talked about the grief that I feel over losing my roles, and I talked about how I took on this new role of podcaster, but I didn't really write about who I am at the end of the day. Okay, so I'm gonna do this exercise again and think about that. So if you're inspired to do this little exercise, I hope you'll write to me and let me know what you found out about yourself. I'll share my email address again at the end of the episode. And before I do end the episode, I'll say that I'm trying to keep moving forward by taking little steps and little actions towards my resignation every day. I decided last night I would start writing a draft of my resignation letter. That's something that I think will take me some time to do and a few drafts to write before I'm happy with it. So it'll be a good exercise for me to do, not only to start putting words on paper to this new reality, but because it will also open up time and space for me to process the feeling of some of the grief that has been sitting around in the pit of my stomach, but that I've not paid attention to recently. Okay, so I think that's it for this episode. As always, please get in touch. Tell me how you're liking the podcast so far and what's going on in your world. My email is midlifeplottwistpodcast, all one word, @gmail.com. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for writing. And until next week, be well.